Welcome back to the Basics Basic. I had a lot of fun this week because I decided to do a little bit of a live reaction, real-time reading with the first book this week. I have read 3 books like normal, so after we go through some of the live reactions for the first book, I will come back, we'll sit down, we'll talk about the books I've read, what I thought about them, my rating, where I put them on the board, the questions they ask, all the typical things you've seen in previous videos will be at the end of this video, but the first little bit is more of a real-time watch with me as I am reading Wild Dark Shore. Let's go ahead back to past Sarah on her day off as she's reading in the coffee shop. Here we go. I have today off and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna read at my favorite coffee shop. I think I might get a bagel. We'll see. You cannot convince me that strawberry cream cheese is not one of the world's best inventions, but that's beside the point. I am reading Wild Dark Shore right now. I have a different cover because I got this copy from my library. I'm 110 pages in, but this is the large print version, which I didn't realize when I picked it up until I opened it up and I was like, wow, that's large type as advertised. I'm not enthralled with it yet, but I'm excited to give it a try, give it a go, see how I feel about it. I'm gonna read, have some coffee, hang out with some friends, see where the day leads us. I just finished my time at the coffee shop. I walked in and my friends were there playing Catan, so I randomly joined them for a Catan game, which was super fun. Random, spontaneous activities, which I am always about. I'm about halfway through the book now, and I'm actually having a really interesting reaction to it. I did not expect to really relate to this book, but there have been a lot of themes of grief and a lot of themes of loss and yearning to be more than you are or have more than you have in terms of like character and ability to connect and relate. I find that really beautiful, and there are a few things that I just wanted to read quotes from that are not spoilers but just really beautifully written. This is a comment that Dad makes about his relationship with his daughter as she's becoming a teenager. I was not meant to have to do this part alone, the teenage part. I was changing her nappies yesterday, and today I am grappling with the reflection of my failures to her 2 wise eyes. I am trying to allow her to grow while simultaneously keeping her from drifting away. I want her to know life, its beauties and complexities. I want her to take risks and make mistakes and know love as we all should, and yet those things feel too big. They are dwarfing us. She is just a baby, and I really need my wife. He processes his grief actually a number of times throughout the book, and I'm only about halfway through, but he also says this: "What I miss the most is not any of the things I expected. It's having someone to talk about our children, the hilarious things they say and do, the insights with which they blow my mind, and the ways they change frequently and without mercy. I need her to help me process and deliberate and delight in. I want to laugh with her, to be awestruck with her. I want her to look at me in wonder, acknowledging what profound creatures we have made together. What I miss is having someone to look at in moments like these, someone who understands not just the talent or cleverness of our children, but the wisdom, the immensity of feeling they hold within. Instead, I marvel at them alone." Oh, it's just heartbreaking. This man's just like doing his best out here for his 3 kids in a super strange environment, which I'm still trying to figure out why they're here to begin with. But you can just hear the like deep yearning and loss and grief as he's like doing this thing that he was not supposed to have to do alone, and yet he is. There's another part that's really getting to me too, and it is one of the children's perspective and relationships with the animals, and this is what it says. "And while he enjoys it all, from the bubbles of air popping on the surface to the swish of a nearby seal fin, what he wants more than anything, what gets him out here at the crack of dawn, even in freezing temperatures and miserably windy conditions that skew the sound results, it is the possibility of hearing the song of the whale. He was born the day he first heard the song of the whale, and he has been finding ways to record them ever since. In one moment high and squeaking like the top note of a violin, in the next guttural echoing some space between the moan of a cow and the trumpet of an elephant, sometimes joyous and playful, sometimes mournful and searching, sometimes with a trill or a creak or a rumble, a question, a call, a love letter." This really hit me, and I think this is very personal, but having lived near the ocean and being in water all the time, I was constantly hearing the sound of the whales, and I miss whale season, and I haven't heard whales in over 2 years for me now, and I miss them. And I was reading this book and I actually started tearing up. I hadn't realized how much I missed water and the ocean and being under a deep wave and hearing the sound of the whales. And it was a big part of my life while I lived in Hawaii, and now being in a landlocked state. I mean, we have lakes, but it's just not the same thing. You don't have the grandeur and the like vastness of the ocean. And I loved listening to the whales. It was one of my favorite parts of being in Hawaii, and it was so profound. And I remember the first time when the whales arrived, my first winter on island, I was like swimming and I was like, what is that sound? And it's haunting and it's beautiful and it's mesmerizing and it's so weird. I understood what this character meant. I fully could hear and had experienced the same things that he was talking about, and that just meant so much to me on a personal level. So I'm really enjoying this. I'm enjoying the elements of nature that we're talking about and the severity of the elements, and I'm enjoying the themes of grief, as all of the characters are honestly just trying to get through, trying to connect and trying to relate, but struggling through it. And it's just a really beautiful book. I know who the characters are, I know what their struggles have been, but I don't understand how we got from point A to point B, and that's what's really like gripping me. I'm like, I need to know more. Finished Wild Dark Shore. This book, like, I do not have the words to describe how I feel about this book. I finished it about 4 days ago now, and I've not stopped thinking about it. I've read 2 other books in the time since I've read Wild Dark Shore, and I'm still thinking about Wild Dark Shore. It was so beautiful. Basically, the premise is that there is this man named Dominic. Him and his 3 children, Rolf, Fen, and Orly, live on this island between Tasmania and Antarctica. And it is very remote. It is very desolate. The environment is very harsh. And honestly, the weather and the island and atmosphere is a character in this book. They are responsible for a seed vault. So they are maintaining this vault, and all of a sudden this woman washes up short. They don't know who she is. They don't know why she's there. They don't know what she is doing on the island. They are the only people on this island, and they are very suspicious of her. She in turn is very suspicious of them, and her name is Rowan. And as you read this book, you're trying to figure out, why is she here, and why are they here, and why are they in this space together? Why is anyone on this island to begin with, and why is it so remote? And like, you're just reading this trying to figure it out, and every single character knows more than they're telling the reader. And what's really interesting about this book is that all of the chapters almost read like journal entries. Like, there are beautiful quotes, and I know I touched on some of them earlier, but it just is so raw and vulnerable. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I enjoyed like the eeriness of it a little bit, because the environment and the setting is just so jarring, and just the terrain is terrible. I highly recommend this book. I rated it 5 stars. It may be a 6-star read for me. This was just such a beautiful book. There is nothing I would change about it. I would keep it exactly as is. Usually when I'm reading, I'm like, oh, if only they had done like this tiny little thing or use that different word. Like, I'm a very critical reader, and I have nothing to critique. I loved it. I loved every single second of it. I am so determined to read more of Charlotte McConaughey, someone tell me how to say that, more of her books, because I've heard she has a good number of them. She is definitely going to be a top author for me if the rest of her books are even remotely as good as this one. The main questions that this book asks, why is that so hot? I can't speak. You get the point. You get the point. What do we owe the past when determining the future? And right alongside with that, who gets to determine the future, and how do we pick who gets to determine the future? And then it also asks, can trust be rebuilt when so much has been broken, such as communication and family and relational trust and safety and hope even, and sanity. This book just deals with so much brokenness and so much pain in such an honest way, and also unexpected way. I really found this to be almost therapeutic in a way and really, really love this book. So 10 out of 10 recommend. This is probably a 6-star read for me. Loved it. Please go pick it up. Just go read this book. The first spot we put this book was in the alphabet challenge. We put this at W for Wild Dark Shore. The second spot we put this in was for booktuber recommendation. I saw Sarah, I don't even know her last name. I'll tag her down below. I really have enjoyed reading some of the books she's recommended, and so this one did not let me down. This is now what the board looks like with Wild Dark Shore added in. Now, it may not be a surprise to anyone that I could not stay away from the Stormlight Archive. The ending of Way of Kings especially had me itching to read more, so I did. I picked up Words of Radiance, which is the biggest book I have ever read. I think it's over 1,300 pages. It is so long, and it is so good. Now, I should say, this is also the highest rated book on Goodreads. So I went into this book with such high expectations, especially considering I enjoyed the first book, but then have read so many books that I've rated 5 stars, and having such a popular book be so highly rated was wildly intriguing to me. So I had very high expectations for the book, and they did not let me down. This is the second book in a series. So if you have not read The Way of Kings, which is the first book, I recommend skipping to the next chapter of this video because I don't want to spoil anything for you. I will not give any spoilers for Words of Radiance, but I do have to touch on a few things from the book before Way of Kings in order to explain my thoughts on Words of Radiance. This book picked up right where it left off. We were back with our main 3 characters. We have Shallan, who is a researcher. She is under the tutelage and mentorship of Yasna, who is a princess. She is going on this journey to understand more of what is happening. She's very analytical and intelligent, and we're picking up on her story. We also are continuing the storyline with Dalinar. He has been having visions. He's trying to figure out what is true or if he's going crazy, and he's questioning his sanity. And as these visions keep coming, he becomes more and more certain that he needs to make some pretty drastic steps in different directions. And then we also have Kaladin, and Kaladin has been a officer in the army, then a slave, and now is the bodyguard to Dalinar. So he's had quite the drastic career journey. And he is learning how to be a leader to a bunch of men who are formerly slaves who don't really know how to hope and exist in the world in that more hopeful place after being in such a desolate and despairing reality. And so he is trying to kind of pick himself up, pick his team up. We have Bridge 4, who we love. And he's also navigating some magical abilities that he doesn't really know how to deal with or what to do with. And it is a very long book, but it is a very beautiful book. And honestly, there are a lot of different chapters or eras of this book. There are 4 books within one book, but it still makes sense that this is all one volume. It just really works together, even though there are so many different parts and seasons to this book in and of itself. I thoroughly enjoyed how we watched the characters come into their magic and start to understand and learn and work with their magic rather than fighting it or being afraid of it. And it felt very realistic. I mean, obviously magic's not real. It felt true to the character of how they picked up their magic and navigated using it and hiding it versus showing it off versus, what do you do with it? I really, really enjoyed the way Brandon Sanderson took us through this journey with these characters. I also love that our characters are meeting. So now we're not only getting the point of view from the character themselves, we're also seeing them in the other character's perspective. And so we get more of a fleshed out version of who each of these main characters are because we're seeing them more consistently throughout the book and through their own eyes and then through other characters' eyes as well. I am in agreement with the Goodreads rating. This is a 5-star book for me. It was beautiful. I cannot wait to continue this series. It has completely gripped me. The fact that I read a 1,300-page book in 1 week while reading 2 other books should tell you how psycho I am about this series. I just really, really enjoyed it, and I really got caught up in it and flew through this book. I need to give myself a bit of a breather because otherwise I feel like I'm going to just read Brandon Sanderson for a month straight, and then I'm going to finish the series and just be paralyzed. So I had to force force myself to read something else rather than going straight into Edge Dancer. The only thing about this book that I do not love, the interludes. I understand their importance. I get why they're there. Basically, the interludes are in between each part of the book. So there will be a main part of the book. Those are the perspective of the three protagonists that we have, and sometimes other side characters as well. And then usually at the end of a fairly dramatic or pinnacle part of the story, we will go to interludes. And these are usually maybe 20-page sections for a few different characters as you learn more about the world holistically. So we're understanding more of the magic system and how the magic system works. We're understanding more of these other characters who the main characters aren't interacting with, but are going to be part of the story and are important to know about. I get it, but I don't want it. But I get it. So often I'm like, wait, I want more. Like, don't take me away. Like, I was so engrossed in the main character storylines that I didn't want to be pulled out and into Seth's storyline or someone else. And it does make the end of the book more impactful. Also, the amount of chaos in the end of this book. I have so many thoughts. I literally sat and stared at a wall for a good 20 minutes, just trying to like process everything and make sense of things. One of them, predictable. Everything else, no idea what was happening. And I have so many questions. I came out of this book with more questions than I came into this book with, and I'm really hoping that Edge Dancer and Oathbringer and all the rest of them will kind of answer some of those for me, because if the next book just adds more questions, I don't know how we're gonna wrap it all up. Now that we've rambled about Words of Radiance for a very long time, let me tell you the questions it brings up. First, it talks about truth, and when is hiding truth more protective or more destructive to yourself and the world? It also talks about how do we live honorably in systems that are inherently corrupt, and how do you contain and maintain your morals and your behavior when you are being inflicted with injustice. Lastly, it touches on whether or not people who are broken can come together and jointly make a whole, complete resolution. So it's a very, very interesting book. Please go read this series. I enjoy it so much. I'm so excited to keep going, and I fear that there will be many more Brandon Sanderson books read in this HRCYED challenge. So if you're not a Brando Sando fan, I'm very sorry. This is fairly self-explanatory, but the first spot I put this on the board was the series challenge. So this is book number 2 for the Stormlight Archive. And then the second spot I put this in was the 5-star predictions. I walked into this book expecting it to be 5 stars. I walked out of this book confirming it is in fact a 5-star book. This is what the board looks like now with those updates from Words of Radiance. We are at the 3rd book that I have read this week, and yes, I read all of these books in 1 week. It is insane behavior. I don't know how I did this because I was also very busy, but that's beside the point. I read Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is a sci-fi book. It is a upcoming movie, which is part of the reason I was so quick to read it, because I heard last week, I think, that the movie was coming out, and I was like, oh, I need to read this book. It's been on my radar for months, and I have had it on Audible that I purchased for like maybe 6 months, and I just had not got around to reading it yet. I sat down and I read myself the book, and I enjoyed every second. Y'all, this may have been the best reading week of my life. Basically, this book is about a man named Ryland Grace, and he wakes up from a coma on a spaceship in the middle of space with no memory of how he got there or what he is doing. He quickly realizes that the sun is dying. He has to try and figure out how to fix this problem while in space, why he is on this spaceship, and little pieces start coming back bit by bit. What's really interesting about Ryland as a character is that he is the most reluctant hero. He does not want to be where he is. He is a classic everyman, and that's what makes him so endearing. This is a hilarious book. I was not expecting this. I'm not a sci-fi reader. I don't really care for space. I don't really have any interest in aliens as a concept or in reading. It doesn't really intrigue me. It's not something I spend time thinking about or worrying about. It just kind of like is a thing. But I loved this book. So if you are a sci-fi person, you will absolutely love this. And if you're not a sci-fi person, you're also probably gonna love this book. I hate to tell you this. Ryan Gosling is playing Ryland Grace in the movie, and it just is the most perfect fit of all time. This book is just amaze. And if you've read the book, you know what that's from. Basically, the question this book seeks to ask is, Does compassion or intelligence define humanity more? Is survival meaningful without connection? And how far would you go to save a world that might never know the sacrifices you took to save them? Big questions, massive questions. I rated this book 5 stars. And you may notice, Sarah, you've read 3 books this week, and you have rated all 3 books 5 stars. And yes, I have. That is entirely correct. I had the best reading week. You can tell that Andy had the time of his life writing this book. The math is mathing, the science is sciencing, the aliens are aliening. It's just so captivating. The first spot I put this on the HRCYED board was the last 10 years. This was published in 2021, so it went in the 2021 spot. And then second, I put this in the name challenge, and this is for A for Andy. And this is what the board looks like now with Project Hail Mary added to HRCYED. Typically, during a video, we now go into my weekly favorites. I do not know how to rate these books. I do not know how to pick a favorite. When I tell you, I sat trying to pick a favorite from these 3 books, it took me 45 minutes. They're 3 different genres. They're 3 different lengths. They're dealing with very different concepts and topics, and they're so wildly different and so wildly wonderful. I've come out with a tiny bit of a cop-out, and don't hate me for this. Basically, I was looking at my list of favorite books, and I was trying to decide where I would put each of these books on the favorites board. I only have 10 books on my weekly favorites list, but you may notice that we are on now week 15 of HRCYED. So I'm behind on how many books should be on this list. And the reason for that is when I did my TBR videos, I don't pick a favorite book because I'm not talking about books. So I got thinking, what if when we do a TBR video, we get to put in a book in that week's spot when we need to, which would mean I can use all 3 books. I'm sure someone's gonna hate me for this because it feels like such a cop-out, but I honestly can't pick. I have decided to keep all 3, which only brings me to 13 books on my weekly favorites, which means I still need 2 more books to be at the full 15, 1 a week. So I feel okay about this. If you have qualms or if you're upset about this, let me know. I don't know that I'll change it, but if there's rioting in the comments, I'll consider it. I have just put them in the order that I read them. So in spot number 1, we have Wild Dark Shore. Spot number 2, we're putting Words of Radiance. And spot number 3, we are putting Project Hail Mary. And you may notice all 3 of these books are above My Friends, which was the previous top book in this challenge. So in 1 week, I have now read my favorite 3 books of HRCYED. Isn't that crazy? That's crazy to me. I was at Home Goods with a friend, and I saw in the clearance section, there was a cute little jar. She's ribbed, she's got a wooden top, and I thought this would be perfect for a TBR jar. So instead of spinning a category, I have put different books that I'm very excited to read in this. I'm gonna pick 3 options, and then I'm going to select one of the 3 to read this coming week. So let's see what we get. Book number 1. Ooh, The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love. A romance, I believe. I don't think it's fantastical. I think it's just a romance between 2 scientists who are birders, and they are trying to find a bird in a competition. And I've heard it's just very silly, goofy, very fun. I'm very excited to read it, and I actually have it in my possession. It's right here. So this is one, I have it from the library, checked out for the next 3 weeks or something. Next we have When Breath Becomes Air. This is also a wonderful pick. When Breath Becomes Air is a memoir. It is a book about a man who has cancer. He is a doctor, so he actually knows exactly what is happening to him. This is a picture of him on the back of the book. It is a tremendously hard, wonderful story to read. It's one I have read before, so this would be a favorites reread for me. So that is another phenomenal contender for next week. Let's see what the 3rd option is. Oh, it's Edge Dancer, which is the next book in the Stormlight Archive. Don't tempt me with a good time. Jeez. I actually desperately want to read all 3 of these. Whew, which do I pick? As much as I want to read When Breath Becomes Air, I'm not really in the mood for another nonfiction because I'm currently reading 2 nonfiction books. So I think I'm going to take that out of the running. I think I need to go with Ornithologist Field Guide to Love, just because if I keep reading Stormlight immediately, you're never going to hear the end of it. And I think for your sake, I need to give it a breather and read like a silly, goofy romance option. Last week, I picked the blurb book category. I have started the book I'm reading for that. I did not get to finish it in time for this video. It may or may not be by John Green. Thank you for coming along with me on this little bit of a longer video. Please, please, please let me know what you think about the more vlog style, live reaction style recordings. I'm very interested if that's something we want to try out a little bit more of, or if you'd rather just hear me sit and yap, we can do that too. We have read 32 books. We are on our 15th week of HRCYED. That is blowing my mind. For now, keep resting, keep reading, and I will see you soon.